All right, good evening, Melbourne. I declare this council meeting open at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the 26th of August, 2025. I welcome councillors and management and members of the public attending tonight's meeting, both in person and virtually. I note that Councillor Philip Leilu will be joining the meeting remotely later this evening. We are meeting on Wurundjeri Woiwurrung country, and I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we govern, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung peoples of the Kulin, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. We acknowledge and honour the unbroken spiritual, cultural and political connection they have maintained to this unique place for more than 2,000 generations. We accept the invitation in the Uluru Statement from the Heart and are committed to walking together to build a better future. This meeting is being streamed live, and the recording will be published on Council's website by close of business tomorrow. The unconfirmed minutes of this meeting will also be available from the City of Melbourne's website as soon as practicable. I request that all mobile phones be turned off or to silent for the duration of the meeting. Before we move on to the next agenda item, I would like to make a statement. On behalf of the City of Melbourne, I extend our deepest condolences to the families, friends and colleagues of the two Victoria police officers who lost their lives today in Paulpunka. We feel your grief and offer our heartfelt support during this unimaginably difficult time. The officers were on the front line protecting our community. Victoria Police face danger every day to keep us safe, and the sacrifice of these two officers will not be forgotten. To all members of Victoria Police, we're deeply grateful for your service, and we honour the memory of your fallen colleagues. Melbourne stands with you. We move on to agenda item 2, disclosure of conflicts of interest. If any councillor has either a general or material conflict of interest as defined in the Local Government Act 2020 in relation to a matter to be considered by council, please disclose the type and nature of your interest prior to consideration of the item. Agenda item 3, confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. I call on a councillor to move a motion adopting the open minutes of council meeting number 9 held on the 29th of July 2025. I call for a councillor to move the motion. Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Looking for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Gladys Liu. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hands. I declare that carried unanimously. We move on to agenda item 4, matters arising from the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any matters arising from the minutes of the previous meeting anyone wishes to call out? No, in that case, we move on to correspondence and submissions. The following submissions have been received in accordance with the Council's governance rules. In relation to item 6.3 QVM Precinct Renewal Program, there is an item of correspondence from Mary Lou Howie from the Friends of Queen Victoria Market. In relation to agenda item 6.4 Green Line Quarterly Report, there's an item of correspondence from Chris Thrum. And good to see you here this evening, Honorary Councillor. In relation to the status of confidential items, does any council wish to discuss the confidential status of any of the confidential items listed in the public agenda at this stage?
Lord Mayor, if this is the appropriate time.
Councillor Owen Guest. Yes, we're not going to be... well, yes, you can raise it now if you so wish.
Well, I'm happy to do it towards the end of the open session if you prefer.
I would suggest you could do it then if you so wished, Councillor.
I'll do it then, Lord Mayor.
All right, good. All right, we will then. I will then move a procedural motion at this stage, which I propose a procedural motion to change the order of business to defer agenda item 5.1, Amendment C447 192 to 200 Arden Street, North Melbourne, for consideration later in the meeting. I am happy to move that. Looking for a councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Andrew Rouse. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great. We will move that item to later in the meeting. We now move to agenda item 5, reports from committee. And there is one report from, actually we've moved that agenda item on, so we'll be not moving to that item. We'll actually be moving on to agenda item 6, reports from management. And there are 4 reports from management to be considered under this agenda item. The first of those is agenda item 6.1, proposed amendments to the road management plan. Would councillors like a presentation in relation to this item? Take that as a no. So I am exercising my responsibilities as lead in the infrastructure portfolio. Will move a motion. My screen in front of me here is not working, councillors. So I can look on to David Thompson's screen here. Just checking that that is the right item, and I'm going to move that. I'm looking for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Raphael Camillo. And I will now speak to this item. We sometimes hear from members of the public that local government should be all about roads, rates and rubbish. I've always thought that the role of council was significantly broader than that, but I can say that roads is a very important thing that we do here at council, and this agenda item is all about roads and our road management plan. The decision before us is to update the City of Melbourne's road management plan to align with industry standards, ensuring we follow best practices and maintain consistency with other councils. The primary challenge will be to update, the primary change that we're discussing here will be to update mandatory defect response times to enable officers to respond quickly on high priority issues while keeping operations streamlined and working efficiently. By reviewing the road management plan every 4 years, we are meeting the Road Management Act 2004 requirements. In that way, we ensure we stay legally compliant and reduce potential liabilities for the council. Thank you to everyone who submitted or engaged with the broader road management plan, community and stakeholder engagement processes. Indeed, we do take our roads very seriously here at the City of Melbourne, and I believe we have the highest quality roads in all of Victoria. We take this feedback seriously, and it ensures the road management plan is relevant and addresses real concerns, helping us to make decisions that reflect the needs of the public and the changing way in which our local residents and visitors, and indeed all those who utilise our road network, experience our roads. Can I also put on the record my thanks to General Manager Rick Kwasek, to Lauren Beattie, to Mitchell Dugan Hewland, and to the infrastructure team at our city, and indeed the many people we work with every year to build and maintain our outstanding road network here in the City of Melbourne. Councillor Camillo, as seconded, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Yes, Lord Mayor, thanks so much. So, yes, the road management plan, the RMP, sets out how council manages roads assets, including inspection and maintenance standards to keep the community safe. The RMP is reviewed every 4 years under the Road Management Act 2004, and the updates 2025 plan must be endorsed by October. As the report notes, a key element of the RMP 2025 is to establish achievable and consistent road maintenance standards across the municipality, which will improve the health and safety of wider community. This is particularly important for me as a portfolio head of safety and cleaning and Deputy for Infrastructure, as a feedback from both industry and community have been sought on these standards through the review process. Consultation on RMP include statutory advertising, community engagement, and direct collaboration with MEV, the Municipal Association of Victoria, who have been working with the local government authorities to provide clear and more consistent standards for the RMPs. Key changes in here include alignment with the RMP template and structure that was developed by the MEV, more efficient response to the defect reports, update standards for curb and channel assets, clear intervention levels, and photos for asset responsibilities. So I endorse the key proposed changes, and I have been recommended for inclusion and commend the motion before us this evening. And I would like to thank the team from Rick Wasak for organizing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Camillo, and thank you for the passion and energy that you have brought to this portfolio since starting as Deputy Lead. Would any other councillors wish to speak to this item? All right, in that case, I will put the matter to the vote. Let us vote for our road management plan, one of the most important things we do here at the City of Melbourne. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that carried unanimously. All right, we move on to our next agenda item 6.2, Draft Internal Control Framework. Would councillors like a presentation on this agenda item? No. In that case, I would request of our government business team that they please put a motion up on the screen. Councillor Guest, are you happy with that motion?
I am happy with that, Lord Mayor.
Would you like to move that motion?
I will move this motion, Lord Mayor. I can feel the anticipation in the air.
And I'm happy to second it. Back to you, Councillor Owen Guest.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This before all is the draft of the internal control framework for the Melbourne City Council. As you can see, it is a motion to adopt the internal control framework. It also adds in 4.2 to authorise the Chief Operating Officer to make further minor editorial changes. This is one of the important documents of the Melbourne City Council, as it helps us set some effective internal controls designed to mitigate, sadly not to eliminate, but to mitigate the risks facing the Melbourne City Council, which include such things as reputational risk, operational risk, the risk of fraud, compliance, the risk of errors made, of course, by we who work here, both in the executive on council, cybersecurity risks, and even health and safety, as well as other risks. All important, and it should be noted that consultation to put this draft together was done via the Financial Controller of the Melbourne City Council, Enterprise Technology Services, Sign Advisory, the Audit and Risk Committee, of which myself and other members of this council are on, as well as the executive leadership team. I am happy to put this forward as a motion, and I suspect our Lord Mayor will be happy to second it.
Thank you, Councillor Guest. I am indeed happy to second this motion tonight. An internal control framework is not just a best practice, it's an essential pillar of good governance. In recognising the need to uplift governance standards here at Council, this framework provides a structured, transparent and principles-based approach to how the organisation will manage risk, ensure compliance and strengthen operational integrity. Something which I know we spend a lot of time discussing and working on through the finance and governance portfolio. Can I also put on the record my thanks to Mans Bassey, who's joining us at this table here this evening, to David Thompson and Manoja Ratanaki, and the whole team who have worked on this important internal control framework for us. would any other councillors like to speak to this item? I would welcome any contribution from councillors on this important item. If not, then I will put the matter to the vote. All right, I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. I declare that carried unanimously. All right, we move on to agenda item 6.3, the Queen Victoria Market Precinct Renewal Program Quarterly Report. Would councillors like a presentation in relation to this item? No. In that case, I am going to request that a motion please be put up on the screen. Thank you very much. And I am happy to move that motion, and I'm looking for a councillor to second it. Thank you, Councillor Raphael Camillo. I will now speak to this item. There are exciting developments going on at the Queen Victoria Market, and I hope Melburnians know all about them. First, the report before us lists the $31 million investment in the last financial year, primarily for market infrastructure, meat, fish and dairy halls, the food court and terraces. For any Melburnian who hasn't yet checked out the new food court, it is absolutely splendid, and I recommend you get along and enjoy the wonderful dining offerings that are available there. In addition, we've finished works at the intersection of William and Franklin Streets. This means firstly that a new accessible bus stop is now available to those visiting the market. And secondly, there is a protected bike lane along William Street, which I know is welcomed by cyclists wishing to enter the city from that route. Since 2013, we have spent $185 million on renewing Melbourne's favourite market. The other big news story, of course, is that the site of the Gurrowa Place development on the south side of the Queen Victoria Market has now been officially endorsed by the federal government. Just 2 weeks ago, I stood with the Minister for Homes and Cities, Claire O'Neill, and the Minister for Environment, Murray Watt. They said Gurrowa Place is a priority project for this city. Indeed, they identified it as a priority project for Australia. They could not have been more effusive in their praise for the Gurrowa Place development, noting, of course, that that $1.7 billion investment is the largest ever urban renewal development delivered for the City of Melbourne. It'll make a major dent in the housing crisis, delivering 2,200 new dwellings for our city in the midst of a housing crisis. And of course, it also paves the way for the delivery of the new Market Square, which will be 1.8 hectares of new public open space. The the Queen Victoria car park, it is the City of Melbourne's last major at-grade car park. Most car parks like that were removed decades ago as the basic principle of urban planning, using space for its highest and best use, meant that those old car parks got converted into new, more valuable uses for our city. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing with the Queen Victoria Market car park. We're going to see new car parking spaces delivered underground. Overall, there'll be a net increase in car parking spaces at the Queen Victoria Market, but the old car park will be converted to green public open space, which will be a new place for Melburnians to meet, a new place for them to congregate, a new place where they can enjoy all the delights of the market while also visiting the market. The Gurrowa Place development will create more than 4,000 new jobs and provide a $1.4 million boost for the city's economy. Importantly, it will also generate an additional $25 million in spending in the market precinct every year. That is great news for the Queen Victoria Market traders. 25 million additional spend in the precinct every year. Keeping those cash registers turning over, helping promote the vitality of that Queen Victoria Market precinct. Also, we'll see restored Franklin Street stores to be handed back to council for use as retail and hospitality spaces, protecting our heritage but allowing those spaces to evolve for new modern uses in our city. And I'm very excited to see what will be coming there, and there'll be many exciting announcements to come. So, with those remarks, I commend this report to you, councillors. Over to you, Councillor Camillo.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just want like make a little comment about that. Like, I know we did we advanced in many parts of the market, but I think we should need to find the right balance, what the traders are willing to and expect for the market and the general community and residents around there. So today, I will support that, but I still think has a lot of work we need to do to find the right balance between the community, the market, and the future of the market. And I think we are here to, in the near future, to be fixing that. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Camillo. Would any other councillors like to speak to this motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I'm declaring that carried unanimously, welcoming Councillor Phil Lei-Lu to the meeting remotely. All right, we move on to the next agenda item, 6.4, Green Line Quarterly Report. Would councillors like a presentation in relation to this item? No. In that case, I would request that a motion please be put up on the screen. Yes, that is the motion. I'm happy to move that motion, looking for a councillor to second it. Thank you, Councillor Camillo. Okay, this is another report which makes good reading for the burghers of Melbourne, because it highlights that the Green Line project continues. And tonight we note the quarterly report. In the last financial year, the city invested $9.7 million in the project, and since 2021 the city has invested $33 million. In particular, I'd like to mention 3 positive stories that are occurring along the Green Line project. The first is that right now the City of Melbourne is transforming the river's edge at Birrarung Marr with 450 metres of new boardwalks, promenades and a variety of native habitats. Preliminary construction works for the Green Line project Birrarung Marr Precinct Site 1 have begun. And I was delighted to visit those works just a few short weeks ago and see the team working away. It is going to be an absolutely wonderful, transformative project for that stretch of the river, and it's going to offer Melburnians and visitors the opportunity to enjoy our mighty Birrarung like never before. Secondly, in June, I had the great pleasure, indeed the honour, of opening the Seafarers Rest Park, a new park on the northern shore of the Birrarung. Now, that part of the river holds a special place in Australia's maritime history. It was once the busiest dock in Melbourne. In fact, it was a title it held for many decades. It was also the place where ships set off on journeys to Antarctica. And it's now set to be a new favourite spot for people to stroll, play, or take a moment to relax. It's a wonderful new riverside park for our city, the first new riverside park in more than 2 decades. And I encourage all Melburnians to get along and check out that stage of the Green Line project delivered. Thirdly, work is underway on a third component of the Green Line project. That's the Collins Wharf stretch. That runs for about 400 metres as well. At the western end of the Green Line project, that's been delivered in partnership with Lendlease, and it's going to really activate that stretch of docklands. It's hugely exciting. And of course, this is all part of the City of Melbourne's plan to deliver over 4 kilometres of promenade, allowing people to walk on the north bank of the Yarra all the way from Docklands to the tennis centre. What a wonderful thing that'll be. So I ask all Melburnians to note the report. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, management, for your ongoing support for delivering Green Line. Councillor Camillo.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. So, as on the 3rd of June this year, we have been invest 33 million into bringing this vision to life, include 9.7 million over the past financial year. On the ground, I'm very excited to see that we are making real progress finally. The Burra-Montmartre Precinct Site 1 project is moving forward with major extractor works underway and completion on track for the end of this year. I myself walking around there every weekend and checking that myself. We are also proudly opening the Seafares Rest Park, a stunning new riverside park created in partnership with Riverly and adding much needed open space from residents and visitors. This council is keen to see the Green Line finish on time and on budget, and I'm going to do my best to ensure that. I commend the motion before us tonight. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Camillo. Would any other councillor like to speak to this agenda item? No. In that case, I will put the matter to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, I'm now going to move a procedural motion to change the order of business, and I propose a procedural motion to change the order of business that so that we now consider agenda item 5.1, amendment C447, colon 192 to 200 Arden Street, North Melbourne, for consideration at this point in the meeting. Do I have a seconder for this motion? Thank you, Councillor Gladys Liu. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is carried. We now move to agenda item 5.1. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Lord Mayor, I have a conflict in relation to this item due to a campaign donation.
All right, thank you for that, Deputy Lord Mayor. Councillor Mark Scott.
I also have a conflict of interest in this matter, so I will declare that as well due to campaign donation.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Councillor Kevin Louis.
Lord Mayor, I too need to declare a conflict of interest due to a campaign donation.
Thank you. Councillor David Griffiths.
I too have a conflict of interest due to a campaign donation at the 2020 election cycle.
Thank you, Councillor Griffiths. And I too have a conflict in relation to this item due to a campaign donation. So I will now vacate the chair and I will hand over to you, David Thompson.
For the benefit of members of the community watching online, acknowledging that the Lord Mayor and the Deputy Lord Mayor have a conflict of interest and have left the chamber, we need to elect a temporary chairperson. I'm therefore in search of a motion for the election of a temporary chairperson. Councillor Ball. Your microphone, sorry, my apologies.
I'll nominate Councillor Ball.
I'm happy to nominate Councillor Ball as a temporary chair.
Yeah, okay, I'll second it.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Guest. All those in favour? I declare that carried unanimously. Councillor Ball, the chair is yours. Or I suggest.
Thank you. Thank you. Should I be able to see? Okay, so is this current?
Yes. No, yeah. Go back to that.
Sorry, yep. I beg your pardon.
Thank you. So to agenda item 5.1, rescheduled to now, Amendment C 447, 192 to 200 Arden Street, North Melbourne. We've had conflicts declared and those remaining in the chamber. I believe we have quorum with Phil dialing in online. Thank you very much, Councillor Lee Liu. So, can I call on a councillor to move this motion? Councillor Lee Liu, thank you, and a councillor to second the motion. Councillor Camillo, thank you. Over to you, Councillor Lee Liu.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, awesome. So look, the purpose of this report is to recommend to Council the endorsement of management's response to the the panel's recommendation, and formally adopts a site-specific planning scheme amendment C447. Would the councils like to see a presentation? No, I'm assuming not. If not, then I'm happy to move this. Oh, sorry, it's already been moved and everything. I'll just speak to the matter. Look, the matter, this has already been discussed many times. It's already been to future Melbourne committee where we spoke very much about this. I think it's a great outcome. More than happy to support management's recommendations to this, because I think it's quite sensible. And I'm really looking forward to what the future of the site holds, because while we might love the old ETU building, but hopefully that might be something more beautiful, well designed, going in that place, because we know that in that area it's going to be it's a new area where we hope that it will bring Melbourne onto in terms of what we can bring for the people, but also different workplaces for people to live and work. So really happy to do this. I want to thank the management for all their work and also negotiating, and also putting a very much good lens over this so that we can come to the right outcome. And here it is. So hopefully this will be the last ever thing that has to come to it, because we've been through many times. So happy to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Lee Liu. Councillor Camillo, would you like to speak to second the motion?
No, Chair. Thank you.
Terrific. Any other councillors like to speak to this motion? Thank you. Well, I'll now put this motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Councillor Lee Liu, Councillor Camillo, Councillor Liu, Councillor Rouse and Councillor Ball. All those against, please raise your hand. Councillor Dr Guest, having not voted, will be taken to have abstained, which counts as against the motion. And I declare the motion carried nonetheless. So thank you very much. I invite someone to retrieve those councillors who have left the chamber, and I relinquish the chair.
Excellent. All right, we now move to agenda item 7, general business. There are no items of general business. So we move on to agenda item 8, urgent business. Are there any items of urgent business which any councillors wish to raise? I'm not aware of any. So therefore we move on to agenda item 9, closure of the open meeting. I'd call on a councillor to move a motion displayed on the screen to close the meeting to the public to consider items of confidential business. Thank you, DLM. I'm aware, Councillor Guest, you wish to speak on this item. I will second that procedural motion. Do you wish to speak to this?
Can you,
Yes, you're the mover, so you'll get a right of reply, actually, mover.
a right to reply and a right to speak?
And the right to speak as well, indeed.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm happy to move this motion. I'm satisfied that all of the items that are in confidential are appropriately classified as confidential, and so I think it is appropriate that we close the meeting at this point and move to the confidential section of the meeting.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. I have nothing to add. Would any other councillor like to speak to this motion? Councillor Owen Guest.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I wasn't necessarily posing it in that sense, but yes, I do have concerns about the number and the elements that we're putting into closed sessions. It's not the first time that I've articulated my concerns. These are concerns I've brought up both in-house as well as I think in this forum and with the executive. I do feel that there are items this evening that have no need to be behind in a closed session, and I think that has been the case beforehand. So I'd like to reiterate my concern. I know that some arguments will be put forward to defend the fact that they're in closed session. One of them will be the original argument I heard here with bring embarrassment, perhaps. I use as a hypothetical example the grants programs. We have many and numerous grants programs that we do unfortunately discuss in closed session. The notion that anyone would be embarrassed to such an extent or it might cause their business damage, well, as someone who's analysed in terms of being a fund manager and a business analyst, I've never heard of a business going out of business as a result of embarrassment for not receiving a grant. So I do find that particular answer as to why they need to be held in closed session to be somewhat farcical. I also anticipate there will be an argument brought forward that is a matter of safety. We can hold some of these things behind closed doors. Yes, I think of the probably more than 100 proposals we've seen, there might be one, if two, that could be deemed in the current political climate at the need for safety, but to use that as a blanket excuse to hold so many things in closed session, again, I reject that notion. And the third answer or reason I'm anticipating is perhaps on the basis of the political ramifications. The ramification that to hold some of these things in open session would lead to political debate. Again, it's never stopped this council before discussing things that can be only described as political, whether it be Australia Day or anything else. We've been happy to discuss those sorts of things. So I really encourage this council to start bringing more things into open session rather than closing in closed session. It is nothing short of an affront to transparency and an affront to the ratepayer to do otherwise. I would highlight back when I delivered our draft budget, I mentioned the need for transparency, and I said if it didn't happen, and I highlight that as yet it hasn't happened, it's because we've voted to do otherwise. I've been informed as recently as today from the executive that this is on the agenda, and it's highly likely that the executive will be recommending that more of these sort of things are brought into open session. So really, my fellow councillors, this is on us. I would urge us very, very strongly to bring more things into open session, and that includes some of the things this evening. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councillor Guest. Would any other councillors like to speak on this debate? All right. Mover, did you want to exercise a right of reply?
On indulgence, Chair, because I do believe perhaps we should not be having this debate given it's a procedural motion, but I would encourage Councillor Guest to deal with matters with specificity when the running sheet invites all councillors, if they believe an item is not confidential, to raise it with the meeting with specificity. I would strongly encourage him to do that. I think that would be a better use of our meeting time and the ratepayer dollar as a result.
Right, I'll now put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All right, all those councillors against. Councillor Guest. Okay, that procedural motion is passed. We will now close the open meeting, and I wish to thank members of the public for their interest and attendance and declare the open meeting closed to the public at 6:08 p.m.